Thank you very much, and good morning or good evening to everybody. I'd like to say something about the more contemporary project, which was concerned on the migrants into Poland during the Russian-Ukrainian war, so challenges and opportunities for migrations. Of course, there were, as you probably know, more than 1 million Ukrainians who crossed the Polish border at the beginning of the war, and that's impossible to help everybody. But our idea was to start something very important because it's easy to give money to survive, but it's much more difficult and much more important to find the situation which would allow the migrants, so especially war refugees, to start earning money, to start settle somehow, even for several days, several years. And that was the case of our project, Incubating Freedom for Ukraine. Our idea was to offer to Ukrainians, especially women, because 96% of these immigrants are women, different possibilities of vocational education. So our project was established with Erasmus Plus framework. Here are the basic data. I will not read it. And our mission was to help, but not to help finding food or finding apartment. There were other organizations who did it, and many private people, but to find a pattern how to help immigrants to settle in other countries. The problem is not only about Poland and Ukraine, and that's a problem of whole Europe and the migration to Europe. The migration, you see the data for three last years, the most fresh available data. The migration into Europe is growing. And it's growing not only on the eastern border, it's growing also on southern border, and we can say everywhere. I will not discuss the particular data, but you see the trend. Immigrants netto, it's more than 1 million people per year. It's a huge number of people. Not everyone would be easily adopted in other countries. And that's very interesting to look out which area of business or of work these immigrants can work. And look, these statistics show that the immigrants are usually very often used for work in such areas where Europeans doesn't want to work or doesn't like, or maybe they cannot work. For example, household. Less than 1% of people who are working in Europe are working in this part. For immigrants, it's almost 6%. The same cleaning, construction workers, especially the workers on a very basic position. But there are also some areas where immigrants appear very rarely. So, for example, in administration, education, medicine, SciTech. And that was our point, SciTech, because Europe will need SciTech workers, IT workers, more and more every year. All statistics show that the gap of people who can work in this area and the people who would like to work in this is growing. This gap is growing, and immigrants can fill out this problem. So Ukrainian were for us a case which can be easily adopted to other situations, to immigrants from Syria in, for example, Balkan countries, or immigrants from African coast in Italy or Spain, and so on and so on. The specification of Ukrainian immigrants was very special because these people who were coming there were into Europe, there's more than 4 million people, not all, of course, in Poland. In Poland, there was 1.2. And that is almost 1% of the total European population. It's a huge number. And women are usually protected for the temporary protection holders, but it means they must find something to stabilize their situation. The countries which are the most facing this problem, they are Germany, Poland, and Czech Republic. I'm talking about the percentage of people comparing to the total number of people in a particular country. The same, if we go to this percentage, the first place would be in Lithuania, because almost 66% of immigrants from Ukraine, they came to Lithuania. There were, for you, Lithuanians or Estonia, there was a huge numbers. But also Poland exceeded this 60% of immigrants. Again, we can discuss in details in which part of the industry, in which part of businesses the immigrants are typical, but have a look. They are hotel and restaurant, of course, not as the managers, usually as the people who are cleaning rooms, people who are cooking, people who are sometimes doing some services for technician and so on. But the biggest problem, and the problem is for Ukrainians in Poland, but also for other immigrants in other countries, is a gray zone. So people who are working unofficially or half officially. Very often it's like this, that officially they get the minimum salary which is allowed, and the other it's just later on somehow. So we can examine it very exactly how it was during particular years. Here you see this great peak in 2021. That's the before war, but that's the moment of Brexit. It means that people from Poland, for example, let out from England. The immigration for Polish people, you can see the difference between women and men, is growing into Ireland, for example, but into also other countries. There are many, many reasons for this, but that is something we are facing every day, and it will not finish in 1 or 2 years. That would be a permanent process. The current observation is that the immigrant situation is not only a problem to find a job, it's also a problem to find a place. Because usually, for example, people who are speaking English, they say, okay, I'm speaking English. Yes, they can go to a shop and buy a bread or butter, but they cannot work on the basis of their very basic knowledge. So it's necessary to start local languages. It's also a necessity to find professional opportunities. And IT branch offers something which is very important, something which is really necessary. Many people in IT can be easily adopted into European business. The effect of our project was this book. You see the title book here, the title page, The Strategy for Ukrainian Refugees Through Education in IT Sector and 4.0 Industry Area, suitable for implementation in all European countries. It means that in this book you can find many elements we examined during our 2-year project. All Ukrainians, but we ask them about their opinion, what is necessary, what is not necessary. And everybody who will just use this link can get the full version of this book, which is really very useful for everybody who is facing problem of immigration. if you are interested in our project, go for this link. That is the website of our project. You can find many useful materials and also some films, some movies on different conferences we've been organizing about it. And everybody who would like to contact me directly, I'm professor of the Jagiellonian University, but this presentation was done through the Perspective Foundation. Perspective. Oh, you see, that's a mistake in address. Perspective. It's omitted letter S. I will do it later. Thank you very much for your attention. I'm awaiting the questions.